Hello, literature lovers. Today I want to discuss Dhvanyaloka. It's part of Indian aesthetics. The author of Dhvanyaloka, Anand Vardhana. Dhvanyaloka means a light on suggestion. That is Dhvani, a work on aesthetic suggestion. It is an epoch making work in the history of Alankar literature. It occupies the same position in poetics as Panini's Astro Ashtadha Yavi in grammar and Shankaracharya's commentary on Veds. The complete Dhvanyaloka, together with Abhinav Gupta's commentary on it, has been translated into English by eminent Sanskritist Daniel H. Ingalls and his collaborators. Anandavardhana is credited with creating the Dhvani theory. He wrote that Dhvani, meaning sound or resonance, is the soul or essence of poetry. He said, when the poet writes, he creates a resonant field of emotions. To understand the poetry, the reader or hearer must be on the same wavelength. The method requires sensitivity on the parts of the reader as well as the writer. Anandvana believes that words constitute the body of poetry, to which Dhvani furnishes the soul, the breath of life. The body of poetry can be scientifically analyzed by a knowledge of grammar and the dictionary, prosody, metaphor, and the rest. But Dhvani, its soul, can only be felt directly by cultivated and sensitive parts who understand its true nature by direct appreciation. Ananda said that meaning which wins the admiration of refined critics is dedicated to the soul of poetry. The explicit and the implicit are regarded as its two aspects. However, Ananda Vardhana does not mean to suggest that words and primary meanings are unimportant. The expressed meaning is important, yet the suggested meaning remains the all important thing. The prime source of aesthetic appeal in poetry of the first rank. The relation of two is compared to the relation of the meaning of individual words to the meaning of a sentence as a whole. No one can really grasp the meaning of a sentence unless he knows the meaning of the words. But those who know the language does not form mental images of the meanings of words and then put them together to get the meaning of the sentence. But by the time the sentence is finished, its meaning as a unit flashes through the mind of the listener. In the same way, Dhvani flashes in the mind of the aesthetically sensitive listener the moment he grasps the prime facie meaning. Ananda says, just as the purpose of a sentence is grasped through the meaning of individual words, the knowledge of that sense is got at only through the medium of the explicit sense. Ananda believes that utterances possess a literary meaning and can also convey a further meaning. The scheme of classification, the main division into two types. First, the type where the literal sense is not intended. First, the literal sense is not intended, but subverses the implied sense. Poetry is classified into three kinds in relation to the suggested sense. The best kind is called Dhvani Kaya, in which the suggested sense predominates the presides the expressed. The second is called Gunibhuta Vyangya Koya, wherein the suggested sense is of either equal or inferior prominence. The third is called Sitra or pictorial poetry, where the suggested element is absent. Under this is included verse full of poetic figures and rhymes and alliteration. There are various kinds of dhvani and they are classified in several different ways according to the way in which the suggested meaning is related to the obvious meaning, according to the element in the text which affects the suggestion of dhvani, and according to the nature of dhvani, the suggested meaning itself. The dhvani suggesting element may be a word or a sentence or a paragraph or a stanza or an entire composition, classified by its relation to the obvious meaning. Dhvani falls into two fundamental types. In one, the surface meaning is not really meant, in the other, it is meant but exists for the sake of something else. Ananda believes that kind of poetry wherein the meaning renders itself secondary or the word renders its meaning secondary and suggests implied meaning is designed designated by the learned as dhvani or suggestive poetry. The most important type of dhvani is ras. Dhvani, wherein ras or flavor or emotion or mood or sentiment is the essence of poetry. Ras is the realization of one's own consciousness. It is an ideal and impersonalized form of joy. The ras magnified is universal in character, and the aesthetic pleasure resulting from it is general and designated, disinterested, and not particular. Ras can only be suggested but not described. Ananda believes that the unexpressed meaning is not understood by those who know only grammar and lexicon. It is understood only by men of taste and literary instinct who know the essence of poetry. Thanks for listening.